Can you tell us your name, age, and level of education, please?
Yes, my name is Fulleda. I will be 45 years old, and I have a bachelor's degree.
Okay, great. Where were you born?
I was born in Cali, Colombia, South America.
Okay. And where do you live now?
I live in Okeechobee, Florida.
And your occupation?
I am an educator. I teach 4th grade.
And your native language?
My native language was Spanish.
And how many languages do you currently speak?
2 languages, Spanish and English.
Do you still frequently speak your native language?
Yes, at home.
How long have you been living in the United States?
I have to break that up. I lived here, when I came here, I came when I was 1 year old, and I lived here till I was 10 years old, and then we moved back to Colombia, and then when I graduated from college, I came back, so that was 15 years ago. So altogether, in pieces, 25 years.
Okay, great. And how long have you been speaking English?
I've been speaking English since I was, actually since I started kindergarten, which was when I was like 5 years old.
Okay. Where did you attend high school and a university?
I attended high school in Cali, Colombia. I went to a bilingual school. And I went to college in Bogota, Colombia.
Okay. Did you study English in your native country?
Yes.
When and where did you study English?
I was raised in Southern California, so until I was 10 years old, I was going to, of course, an American school, and that's when I learned my English. But when I moved back to Colombia, I went to a bilingual school so we can continue and not forget the English we had learned. And when I say we, I say my sister and I, so.
Okay, great. And was it ever difficult for you to, learn the English language?
Well, actually, what happened is we came at a time, this was, we're talking about 1975, when it was encouraged to only speak English. At school, you couldn't speak any Spanish. So what happened is I would speak Spanish at home, and I would just speak English. So I kind of really learned the English, and it was easy for me to learn the English, but I was losing my Spanish at home.
Interesting.
So that's why we decided to go back to Colombia.
Interesting. Did you ever do anything special to learn the English language, like watch TV, play any games, volunteer, play sports, using learning language software, anything like that?
When we went back to Colombia, and because we were going to bilingual school, one of the things that my father asked my sister and I is that we would always speak English, both of us, because now we were being immersed in Spanish, but we did not want to lose the English. So when we lived here, we did have to do the opposite. At home, my father wanted us to watch Spanish, so we would not lose our Spanish. But when we went back to Colombia, which was a Spanish-speaking country, we did the opposite. Speak in English, watch TV in English, so you wouldn't lose the English. So that's why a lot of people, I really didn't lose my accent. So I didn't lose my English accent, which was, because I came here when I was little.
Right. Would you do anything differently in your relation to your language learning with English?
What I really would encourage learning when you're bilingual is I would continue to, for parents, I always advise speak Spanish at home and do the English outside of your house, because English is around us. We see it, in our daily lives. Signs, commercials, TV, workplace, school. So I really encourage when you are learning 2 languages to, at home, do the Spanish, which that's what I do at home with my children now. We only try to speak Spanish, and here at my workplace, I speak English.
Yeah, interesting, good. Did you notice a difference in your proficiency level with social English language and then your academic English language?
I did. I felt when I was growing up, my vocabulary was not as rich as native English speakers, because at home I didn't speak that with my parents. So I was able to learn rich vocabulary in Spanish, but because they didn't speak to me in English, I didn't have a strong vocabulary background. So I think that was one of my weakest things was vocabulary in English, even if I was going to an English school, but because I wasn't daily using it at home, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. Do the differences in your social English language and your academic English language ever cause any issues for you at work or in social settings or at school or anything like that?
Not really, but there are times, even now as a teacher, as an educator, that there's academic English words that I have to look up
Mm-hmm.
because I have not been exposed to them. So I even have to still, go back and research what does this mean, or I could understand that English word because of my Spanish background, because like Latin, so I can pull that from there.
Absolutely. Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
I never even thought about that. That's very interesting. Why did you originally come to the United States? Was it for economic reasons, family reasons, political reasons?
My parents, like in that time, 1970s, my father obviously wanted a better future for his family, so this is why he came here. He had a sister that had migrated to the United States, so she was able to, bring her family, and so my father wanted a better life for us. So
great. Did you have any issues when you first came to the U.S. and first began to learn English?
My dad, I guess, did something good. We did not live in a Hispanic community. We actually moved to an American community. We were the only Hispanic people there, and the reason why he did that is because he wanted us to be able to emerge. He felt it would be easier for us to emerge in the culture and in the language. So we really didn't have any difficulty. I mean, I think we were able to do that transition from English to Spanish, Spanish to English, and we had good support at home and at school.
Excellent. I think you should cover that one. And I'm going to ask this even though you've already actually said it. Do you use English regularly at work and at home and in social settings?
Yes, because I have friends that are American. So with my friends that are American, obviously I use the English, and with my Hispanic, family and friends, I use the Spanish. So I actually use both languages very equally. Like I would say even 50-50.
Okay, good. And I want to ask this one too because you kind of touched on it earlier. But will you or have you taught your native language to your children, and why?
I have taught my native language to my children. I have 2 boys because I knew the importance growing up of being able to speak 2 languages, and not only knowing to speak, but knowing to read and write. So that has always been a great focus of being able to educate my children and say it's very important, because we know that today's here in America, in the United States, you need 2 languages, and it's not only now knowing to speak a language, but really now knowing to read and write a language. So I have really encouraged my children to be able to do that.
That's awesome. Do you feel that there are a lot of people from your native country or language represented in this community that you live in?
There's obviously a lot of Latin Americans, but South Americans, there's, the percentage is less than people from Central America, but I have seen that in the past years that I've lived here, the percent is growing and growing. So I see much more people from South America coming to live here in my community.
What would you say are the major differences about living in the U.S. compared to your native country?
The differences are culture. Our culture is different. Obviously, our languages, but Colombia has a lot of American and European influence. So you go back home and you still see McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken. So I think Colombia in a way is very Americanized. Really the difference would be more of just customs and cultures that we have back at home.
Right. Okay, and what are some tips or pieces of advice that you would offer me as a teacher when working with ELL students?
Visuals. Visuals is very important because it's something that a picture says has many more words than actually speaking. So I've worked with a lot of the ESOL students, and I try to do a lot of visuals with them, always having that model, always showing that picture hands-on, because at one point they do become visual learners to be able to learn that second language and use your ESOL strategies, which I know you'll be learning. Not only for the ESOL students, but for all students.
Everyone, yeah, it's good for everyone. Okay, great. I absolutely agree. I've noticed too, like when I work with my students, anytime you give pictures, they can connect it, and it makes
they make a connection. Yes.
So that hands-on experience is what they need.
They make that connection.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.